This is the Grow Business Podcast with Cory Mosley.
LG007. That's the music.
That's it.
You know what happens when the music playing?
It means we get going.
It's magic time.
There you go.
It's magic time.
So you turn the lights on. You flip the switch.
It's time to grow. I like, listen, this is the one benefit to having your own platform.
Right.
Is you can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
Right? No, normally no one would let me sing.
Yeah, with good reason.
But if I like to sing, hope you enjoyed LG007.
His last episode.
Indeed.com. Looking for new co-host. Knows the right things to say. That's the ad that I'm running with Willie H for Willie H. We got Willie H.
Hold on, Buckaroo.
Yeah.
I had a surgeon that I worked with, and I'd only been doing it about 2 years, and we were doing arthroscopy, and I was in the back, and I was in the room consulting, and he'd done something. I was like, "Oh, you did that very nicely," and did something else complimentary. And we're doing arthroscopy, so there's fluid going through the joint.
Okay.
And he stopped.
Because everybody, of course, knows what orthoscopy is.
Well, that's what. So,
orthoscopy.
So there's moving water in the joint space so that you have space to work.
Educate us, LG.
And that's the
wise one.
That's the most important point of it, though, is there's moving water in the space, right? So I'm giving the surgeon a couple of compliments, and there's
because you're coaching the surgeon on how to do his job.
Well, I'm guiding as a I'm a backseat driver,
your machine or whatever.
He's using our equipment.
Equipment. Okay, gotcha.
So I'm a backseat. I'm a backseat driver.
Gotcha.
And
surgeons love that.
Of course they do. And he had a fellow who was in a fellowship, was training with him, and they were working together. And so the surgeon stopped, and he goes, "Lon, you're just a kiss butt or something." I forget what he said.
Right.
You're just blowing smoke.
Right. Gotcha.
So when he got done and he was going to write prescriptions, I said, "Hey, while you're signing prescriptions for that patient, will you sign a prescription for Dramamine for me?" Because I just got seasick. And the fellow turned around and looked at me. He's like, "I can't believe you just said that." And the surgeon started laughing, and we had a great relationship, but it was kind of like, don't bust my stones if I'm not, I can bust your
don't
stones
dish
right
it
back.
if you can't take it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's it. No, I definitely agree with that.
But the fellow looked at him like, "Damn."
Yeah, you got him. LG, they don't know. LG's a silent assassin over here. Just in case we missed it, this is the Grow Business Podcast.
We said we already started?
Yeah, we've started the podcast.
All right.
This is the Grow Business Podcast. That's where you are. If that was the game plan, you were in the right place. Despite the adventures of LG007, we are here. Grow Business Podcast. I'm your host, Cory Mosley. I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, LG007. Lon Graham's here.
It's good to be
Voice of Reason.
Also known as the Voice of Reason. And of course, we can't make any of this happen without our current producer, Willie H.
All right.
Willie H is in the building, pushing the buttons. Hit the buttons, William, at his leisure, apparently, sometimes. Sometimes on, sometimes catatonic. I don't know. Let's see what we got today. But we have another great show for you today. At least I think it's great. I think Lon thinks it's great. We think it's great. Willie H thinks it's great. And we hope you feel the same way. As always, we want to thank you for tuning in every week, tuning in for another edition, and for sharing this, for your kind comments, for your 5-star ratings, all of these different things. So I'm really loving that. I like things in the 4 digits. We want to get to 5 digits, but I like streams in the 4 digits. I'll take it.
Yeah, thank you.
As we continue to grow. So thanks to everybody for making that happen. Today, I thought it was interesting to talk about a topic that gets talked about a lot, but many people, I think, a lot of times we don't know how they're executing or how they are seeing their need for this. And what I'm talking about today is mentors.
Okay.
And the idea of mentorship. So I appreciate you acting like you didn't know that, but you did get a 3-minute head start.
Okay.
I didn't hit you completely blind today. I did give him 3 head start, but I do commend is that what we're talking about today? Oh, wow. I did not know that. This is excellent.
Game on.
Game on.
There we go.
Game on.
Right.
But we want to talk about mentorship because it is very powerful. But as most things, we want to go deeper into a high level statement because there are some caveats to this. There are some different scenarios to how this is supposed to work.
Right.
Mentorships are not free consulting opportunities or attaching yourself to somebody so you could avoid having to pay them for their services and these different types of things. Because there's a lot of danger in the pick your brain category. Our mutual friend Mary Foley says, you can pick my brain, and that'll cost you.
Right.
So my brain is I've got a buddy, Bill Whitmire. He says, dude, I'm like a Coke machine. I'm coin operated.
Perfect.
So it's very important that when you are seeking mentorship or approaching mentorship, that you also manage the expectation and you understand that this is not free coaching. It's not free consulting. Mentorship has just a different alignment in terms of how it's going to work. And mentorship, has been valuable in a lot of people's lives. And I think in a lot of ways, it's knowing that you can call someone or you can get that advice. But they're not there to build my business for me.
No.
There are people on my Rolodex. I've got some very heavies in my Rolodex that I just can't keep. I just can't dial them all day long.
Right.
And I've literally had to, and there's people that I've had to kind of step back from because it's like, dude, this isn't mentorship. You just want me to tell you everything. And you know what I do for a living. Right. Well, exactly. Right. So it's not like I'm in the, I make paper. And you're picking my brain about all these things because, it's got nothing to do with the paper company. Like you want all this advice. Right. That's kind of what I do. So we can't just put that under the friendship category. Oh, we're friends or you're my mentor. Right. Hold on, buckaroo. Yeah, hold on, buckaroo. Well, and the interesting thing is, I'm your mentor, but you're paying XYZ. Right. For... You're paying others. Yeah, you're paying others for services. More from me. Right. So I think that's the tricky part. And I think for me, looking at it from both sides here today in this conversation, looking at it as somebody who's been mentored by some great people, but also been in a mentorship role and had to navigate, what that looks like. I think that's important. So I think how have mentors impacted you? How has that been part of your, career? Well,
I've been fortunate that I had mentors that I didn't realize they were mentors. I had people that...
I think we can all say that.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I mean that in the best possible way. People that were looking out for me, people that wanted to give me advice. And when I was smart enough to listen, I was. And sometimes I didn't appreciate the value of that advice. Right. But mentorship comes in a lot of different forms. And being a mentor and being mentored both have responsibilities. Sure. And we're going to probably talk about, I know that we're talking about mentorship. I don't know what the list is. Right. But I got to believe that we're going to talk about the responsibilities of both ends, what are reasonable expectations, and, how you understand this. The reason people are willing to mentor you is because somebody likely mentored them.
Right. Right. No, that's important. And it, you get into the responsibilities, you get into the conversation about paying it forward, you get into these dynamics there where it gets, I think, important. Right. And just that separation. Coaching is coaching, consulting is consulting, mentorship is a different dynamic. Right. So I want to talk about that. We've got 5 things that we want to share with you, as usual. Seems to be our magic number here. Yeah. But I want to think about, what those key moments of mentorship have been. Okay. Right? Just in terms of understanding that little tweak or getting that experience, right? What has your experience been with insert the blank? Right. Right. And having that value and then determining what is the value proposition. Are there some things you're willing to do for that mentorship? Right. In the speaking world, right? Are you willing to come work another speaker's table? Right. Product services to learn from him. Right. What are those dynamics in terms of how you get into those situations? So I think let's talk about this from the perspective of finding a mentor.
Okay.
I want to share with that. We're going to go through 5 things there, and then we can kind of see where it goes.
Right.
Bob and weave. So we're going to go with this platform. I liked it. Felt good last time where we gave you the broad strokes what we're going to talk about, and then we kind of went back and unpacked them. So I think that's kind of a good.
We had real success with that last time.
Yeah,
so I think
I like that.
Yeah.
Although you changed them.
All right. So I'll sit on my hands.
This is the non-vetted LG007 version. Again, folks, in no particular order. Lon will weigh in accordingly.
Correct.
All right. So we've got, and actually, I'm not going to put numbers on them. So we've got
5.
Defining your goals and needs.
Okay.
Identifying potential mentors.
Okay.
Reaching out and then making that connection.
Okay.
Building relationships, and then formalizing the mentorship arrangement.
Like it.
Because I think there's people who casually who think they have a mentor, and maybe that mentor doesn't see it that way.
Right.
Or someone who thinks, I've had someone proclaim to be a mentor of mine. They've proclaimed that they were my mentor.
Okay.
Yeah, not quite. So I've heard that though. Oh, I'm
Right.
so and so's mentor. I'm like, I don't think so.
Right.
I haven't gleaned any lessons from. Maybe let's do the opposite. So I don't know. But formalizing that arrangement, like really being able to say, this is my mentor,
right,
and this is my mentee.
Yes.
Being able to have that conversation. So the first one we brought up, in no particular order, LG, was defining your goals and needs. So, here what we're really talking about is getting clarity on what you're hoping to achieve in this mentorship responsibility, right? So what is it that you are looking for guidance? Is it strategic? Is it marketing? Is it leadership? Is it development? Right? What are those clear goals that you have?
Right.
Because the idea of a mentor can be great, but if you have a mentor that's not really in alignment with what your goals are,
right?
I'm trying to grow sales. I'm trying to explode sales. Great. Okay. So maybe, having a mentor whose background is, nonprofits might not that they don't have to sell to raise funds, but maybe it's not the same alignment when you're a pharmaceutical business.
Yeah, I think you want to identify mentors that are where you want to be or that have done what you want to do. And look, there's a thin line between mentorship and coaching for sure.
Correct.
What I mean when I say this, though, is let's say you're in a mid-level leadership role in an organization, and ultimately you want to get to an executive leadership role, and you have somebody that you have a tremendous amount of respect for that is in a role that you want to get to. That's a great example of identifying and reaching out, and we'll talk more about how to do that, but that's a great example. When you talk about sales and reaching out to somebody or wanting to get mentorship from somebody in a nonprofit role, well, that's only valuable if you want to be in a nonprofit role in a business development, sales, executive role in nonprofit space.
Right. So I think that, from a business perspective too, one of the things that was going off in my head, because you're kind of talking about in the corporate world, right, in lieu of the entrepreneurship angle there. Sure. But what was going off in my head as you talked about it was the idea of retired executives.
Ah, okay.
Or people who have sold their business.
Right.
I'm on a few advisory boards for a couple different companies, and within that advisory board, there's some great people there.
Right.
There's XYZ who sold his company for $100 million.
Okay.
And now he's doing advisories, some philanthropy, some fishing, some things. That's a person who's perfect, who has no interest in monetization.
Right.
So that's someone who's could be perfect from a mentorship level because they have no dog in the fight, nor do they have a cost base, right? It's not if it is consulting, if it is coaching, it's their ability to share their opinions, and they're happy to do that.
Right.
Now, having that goal and making sure there's an alignment, because what it took to build a $100 million company 30 years ago is different than today.
Right.
So, it's so important that it can't. And let me be clear. Mentorship doesn't mean you've got one mentor.
Right.
So when we talk about planning, when we talk about identifying your needs, your ability to have mentors in multiple areas becomes valuable, because now you've got your mentor for dealing with people and growing your teams. And now you're talking to someone who's maybe sold a employment agency or ran a company with 500 employees, right? So you can get that information about that, but that doesn't mean, okay, great, I've got a mentor, check the box.
Right.
Because now there's other areas of your business or even your personal life that you might have to balance and bring somebody into. But going into it, like so many things, it's not, oh man, that person's important. It'd be great. Will you mentor me?
Right. Well, I think too, and I apologize for cutting you off on that one, Cory. I think too, where, we talk about that thin line, where that line is this something that you're going to use to generate revenue for yourself, or is this something that you're doing to better yourself?
Right.
And those can be should be very different. And if you're looking for something to generate revenue for you or your business, that's probably where you should spend money to do it.
Right.
If you're looking for mentorship, that's guidance.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's a good point there. That's a good point. So we've gotten my goals. I've said, okay, great. I want to do this. Mentorship's important. I want to align myself with a mentor for this, and this, right? For these reasons.
Correct.
Here's uniquely what I'm trying to gain knowledge in and get advice from. The second thing now becomes identifying, who those mentors could be.
Right.
So they people within your network. Yeah, we want, yes, it'd be great if Damon John was my mentor, right? So fantastic.
Right.
Likelihood of that happening, right? I'm an eternal optimist.
Right.
But likelihood of that happening is probably low. Right. In terms of mentorship, not I can join a program.
Right.
Where, he does a Q&A once a quarter on a live stream, but
one-on-one.
Get them on the phone,
right?
Because there are people who I used to be able to get on the phone that I can't anymore. Like they're too big,
right?
And I say can't, like I put in a call, like I'm not getting that. They're just not on,
right? They're not calling you.
And I don't know. What do I say? I don't know. What is that? Does that say something about them? I don't know. Maybe they're just too busy or whatever. But there's definitely people I can think of, that are in my phone that. I don't know. They ain't returning Mosley's calls like they should be right now. I don't know why. I'm talking straight into the camera right now. Where are we on one?
Right.
I'm talking straight into the camera right now. Call the brother back. Call the brother back. All right. So identifying them, looking into their network.
Right.
You talked about people who've succeeded in the areas that's most relevant to the goals that you've laid out. But of course, don't just limit it to your immediate circle.
Right.
Your next mentorship opportunity may come from someone that does not know who you are right now.
Right. Often, those are the types of mentors that are the most effective, because if they aren't in your immediate circle right now, if they aren't in your immediate network, they are people that have a perspective that you don't have. And especially if they're whatever, a revenue level, a size of business level, a leadership level. If they're one or two, maybe three levels above where you are currently, and they're where you want to get to, those people probably aren't in your network specifically because you're not in their world.
Right. Voice of reason. So what do you think? Can you think of some mentors? I mean, you don't even need to name them, but can you think of some? What were some of the takeaways maybe that you got from some mentors that have been part of your life?
Well, I think perspective, and we've talked about this before, Cory, coaches and mentors and others can provide perspective that removes the emotion from a situation. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was at I was at United Airlines. I graduated from college, and I was looking to go do something. And there was a person that was.
Did we know that one? Did we have Willie H? Did we know that one? Because we always learn about a new Lon job on every episode here. I mean, Lon's been around a long time, folks.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Lon's seen a few things, been around a few things, but okay, United Airlines. Did we know that? We've got a little studio audience. Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up there from our studio audience.
There we go.
All right, go ahead.
So I graduated from college, and I was looking to leave, and United. There's a component. Leave United Airlines.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And there was a component to United Airlines that had organized labor, and in leadership roles, you led teams of organized labor employees.
Okay.
And so there was a person that I had.
You mean union?
Union, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, yep.
All right. Speak plainly.
Okay, well,
organized labor.
So union represented employees.
Do you know where he is?
I don't.
Hoffa?
I don't. I know who you're talking about. I don't know where he is. Absolutely.
All right, go ahead. Shout out to I'm from New Jersey.
Right.
So shout out to organized labor.
Right.
Go ahead.
Floating around somewhere in the Meadowlands, maybe in the land of Meadow.
Okay.
That's the story.
The opinions of Lon Graham are not those of Cory Mosley.
or the Grow Business Podcast.
Yes, or the Go Business Podcast. But seek him out at your own risk.
Right, exactly. So there was a leader in the organization, and he said, instead of leaving, apply to get into a leadership role, because I was in a worker role. I graduated from college. I was now eligible to apply for leadership roles. And he said, stay and apply for a leadership role. Well, I did, and I applied for a role that there were 4 openings. Interviewed for it. They hired 4 people. I wasn't one of them.
Okay.
I was really, really mad.
Sent you on like a wild goose chase.
Well, it was good advice, but here's what happened. The next day, so the first thing I got was feedback. Well, we've chosen the 4 leaders to fill these roles. You are not one of the ones that we chose. However, one of the people is going out on long term. They're going to be gone for 3 months. One
of the people that we wanted to hire.
Right, that we are promoting.
Right, that we're promoting over you.
Correct.
It's not even going to be here.
Right.
But we still like them over you.
Is leaving to go out on, well, she was leaving to go out on maternity leave.
Okay.
So it was a very specific.
Oh, well, I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole, so yes.
It was a very specific defined period of time.
Gotcha.
But what they said is that while we're not going to promote you, we would like you to step in and be a temporary supervisor in this person's role while they're gone. And I was, and my immediate reaction was, well, I'm not good enough for you to hire me.
Right.
Why would I want to do that?
The nerve.
Right.
Yeah.
My mentor, the person who told me to stay and interview for these roles, we sat down and had a conversation. This is where they take the emotion out. And he says, think about this. While they didn't promote you, they're giving you an opportunity to prove yourself.
Right.
So take the job and go prove yourself. And then when that person comes back, go interview with other roles. And now you've got supervisory experience. Right. And you're more qualified, even if you don't get this one. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of guidance that a mentor can give you and say, instead of taking this personally, or instead of making it about you, make it about what it can do for you and how you can benefit from it. And so that is an example of somebody who, and I'll shout out to Berkeley Littlejohn, who was at United Airlines, who's now retired down in Florida.
All right.
But
we will unpack that later, but
absolutely.
Shout out to Berkeley Littlejohn.
Berkeley Littlejohn.
He can't be hard to find because that's a unique name.
That is a unique name.
Yeah.
But the point of it is, you asked me, so an example of a mentorship and how it impacted me.
Berkeley Littlejohn.
Berkeley Littlejohn.
We love you.
Indeed, 100%. And, but the point of it was I did what he said. Yeah. When that person came back, there were some openings at the airport that I interviewed for and I ended up getting a job. Because I had experience, I knew what to talk about. I was more qualified. So by listening to somebody who could remove the emotion, have perspective, and give me some good advice, and their level of investment was in my success. But it was up to me to do the things that they recommended I do for them to continue to want to be an advocate for me.
Well, and I think that's the key. I think that's one of the keys with mentorship too, is that you've got to be prepared to actually listen.
Yes, and do.
Right? Well, take actions. Action's always part of the deal. But having a sounding board for agreement is not the right. I always talk about people love extremes, left, right, far left, far right. But really the middle ground is not seeking mentorship because you're desperate for rescue.
Right.
But then also not seeking it because you're just looking for validation.
Right.
There's that middle ground that we've got to consider here. Which is, it's the old, you don't ask for help because you're weak, you ask for help so you can remain strong.
Correct.
And that becomes that model. But being able to say that you simply didn't, so in your point, right, your knee-jerk reaction, you can remove emotion, but also it's just the ability to think strategically. Correct. More so, and tactically, and say, how can I use this, or how can I execute this? And, I've gotten that advice. I've gotten various pieces of advice over the years. Even if I challenge the advice, I still process it. Right. Because there still is a uniqueness to things that can only be relative to you. Correct. And what you feel most comfortable with. We talk about this a lot of times in marketing. What modes, some of the things I think back, I'll try not to get shooting migraine. But I think back to some of the things that we've invested in from a marketing standpoint, and some of those things that we kind of just turn it over to people to do. And I remember those conversations. I had those conversations with my wife that, this just doesn't feel like me. Right. Like the tactic or the technique or the words, even the words in the advertisement or whatever. It's like, I don't sound like this. This is not me. I don't talk this way. Right. But, they're the experts just saying, if you do this, this, and this, it's going to be magical. Right. And some of that stuff just doesn't feel authentic. And I think it's important to not disregard your gut. Correct. Or your intuition. But sound counsel is important in the grand scheme of things too. Well, that goes back to when the church say amen. Yeah, there you go. Got to give Willie Yates that room to soup on in. There you go. It goes back to choosing a mentor, right? Is that person doing either what you want to do, or do they have experience navigating the journey that you're navigating? Because their advice is going to come from that perspective. Right. So if we'll go back to your example of a salesperson seeking the mentor of the leader of a nonprofit organization, you still have to generate revenue, but you're doing different things with that money. You're doing different things with that. So if you're a salesperson and you find somebody who is in a place that you want to be or has navigated your journey and can give you perspective from the other side. Right. What does it look like from the other side? That's the whole point of a mentor is, I can see things that you don't know yet. Right. Yeah, no, 100%. The reach out and make connections now takes us to building relationships. Right. Particularly if you're talking to people who you don't, as we were saying, that you don't have a direct response with. You have to build the relationship. Right. Please do not send a random email saying, will you mentor me? Right. Hi, I'm this person. I'm that person. This is great. You're great. I think you can help me and advise me and guide me. And, it's your responsibility to give back. Like some people are very forward. Right. But don't send that. There's an in-between. You need to build that relationship before you can go. You need to invest in getting to know the mentor. Right. What do you know about them on a personal level? How are you demonstrating your commitment that you will even take the information, right? Or you're committed to learning, that you're committed to growing. Because I can tell you one thing, nobody wants to feel like they've wasted their time. Right. I don't care if you're buying lunch. I can buy lunch. You know what I mean? You don't want to feel like you're wasting your time. You don't want to feel like everything you're saying is falling on deaf ears, or you're just, out there chitter jibber jabbing. Most of the time, the person that you're buying lunch for, it's costing them more in time than it is the money. Sure. And I don't care if you're spending $100 at a steakhouse for lunch. It's costing them more in the time that they're spending with you than it's that opportunity cost that they're giving up to be with you.
which is why it's so important for you to be committed
Right.
to listening to their advice, to processing it, to seeking additional feedback, and to acting on the things that you agreed to act upon.
And I think try to grab the coffee meeting, but now use as an opportunity to make it clear that you do value
Right.
what they're offering or can offer. Show appreciation and show that you are receptive.
Right.
Because if it's not that, if it's oh well, I disagree. I think it'd be this. Oh, okay, getting off this train real fast.
Right.
Now I'm not saying you need to listen to everything, but if I'm in a mentorship role,
Right.
I'm not here to justify my advice.
Right. Right.
Right.
It's my advice from my experience.
I'm not interested. I'm not interested. That's just like, I remember one time there was a lot of stuff going on with the Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, these different things were going on. And I posted on my personal Facebook page that I have not had any issue. I have not had any negative experiences with police.
Okay.
I've had positive experiences. And I think I'm like listen, if somebody's driving behind me, everybody, we tighten up, we look at our speed to make sure we're not speeding. I don't know. I don't care who you are, what you look like. Just cops, you change your demeanor, right? You stop fully at the stop sign. Right. Yellow means slow down and stop, not speed up to make the light.
Right. You go through the checklist.
But I just said, obviously training and perception of where you are. I said in where I live, which is a suburban area of town.
Right.
I just don't have those experiences. I've talked to cops at Starbucks and chatted them up and asked questions, and I haven't seen that. So a guy took it as an opportunity on my personal page. White guy. So it wasn't even like wasn't even like something. Took an opportunity to go into all these things and all these problems with cops and police and all this stuff in his diatribe. And I said, hey, dude, this is my personal opinion about my experiences on my Facebook page. I'm not going to engage in anything that you're talking about to say that it doesn't exist or doesn't matter. I just shared my personal feedback. Right. And that's what's so important in this thing, in this situation, where you're getting that perspective. It's a perspective. It doesn't have to be the perspective. Right. But if you don't go into that relationship with a tremendous amount of respect for, like you said, for that person's time and their effort, right, that's key, because that's just disrespectful in the grand scheme of things. Particularly in this, this is a freebie. Right. Well, like when you think about that idea. Well,
and often, Cory, it's perspective that you don't already have. Mm-hmm. As a person being mentored. Right. That's why you're there.
Right. My grandfather used to always say, I've been your age. You've never been my age.
Right. That's so good.
I've been 40. You've never been 70. Right. And that is so good. R.I.P. to my grandfather. He's no longer with us, but that was his, that and take it easy. Those are his two favorite lines. Take it easy. He loved that one. But it's profound simply because you just haven't been here yet. Right. And that's a key to having a successful understanding that piece. Right. Understanding that you're seeking out that person because of advice. And sometimes you're learning from mistakes. You're getting mentored through mistakes. Right. Hey, I did this. Exactly what you're getting ready to do. Right. And here, let me tell you about the train wreck it was for me. Right. So at best, here are my thoughts on how to not repeat that train wreck.
I have a saying about exactly that. And it's, I tell you this standing firmly on the ground in front of a mirror. Which means I'm telling you because I've done it. Right. And I'm talking to me. Yes. Yes. So that's mentorship, right? But in order to do that, you got to have some level of experience. And the person that you're talking to presumably has experience that you don't have. Right. Like your grandfather said, I've been your age. You haven't been mine. Right. And like I said, mentorship can come in all shapes and sizes too to consider. So, all right.
look at us.
Good thing we got the 5 out.
Look at us. Yeah, because look at us. We're at 5.
Are we? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Power. We're blazing today. We're blazing. We've got some other things to do. But we want to get the information to you.
Exactly.
This is not what we do full time.
The sun has gone down.
As soon as those sponsors kick up,
That's exactly
then the Grow Business Podcast will be 5 days a week, being brought to you by Insert the Blank.
Right. That's exactly right.
If you're out there with some free dollars, bring that sponsorship our way.
Right.
All right, number 5, formalize the mentorship arrangement. And I think this is a big one because there's a lot of people out there, right, that don't know their mentors and a lot of people that don't know their mentees. And there's it is a very haphazard thing. And again, this is different. I've got colleagues and contemporaries that I bounce ideas off of or have information that I want to know about because they've been somewhere else. And that's a different phone call.
Right.
Oh, hey, I see you got let me ask you, I see you got a book deal, or I see you do this or do that. I see you're using this piece of software. How are you using it?
Right.
That's not mentorship, right? I mean, that's me calling my buddy and saying, hey, I see you're doing this very well. I'm getting ready to use this new piece of technology on stage.
Right.
So I called somebody who is using it and is getting results from it, using it well.
Good.
So, hey, I'm getting ready to use this. What are them? I don't want to avoid mistakes. Like I know there's some different ways that I can use it. And then I get the advice, right? That's just friend to friend.
Right.
Why you want to formalize mentorship arrangements, we want to make sure everybody's on the same page and also that you have set the expectations. You've defined scope. You've defined frequency. Right? No mentor wants to be on 24/7 speed dial or treat it like a customer service hotline.
Right.
So you have to set that tone, right? What are the goals? What are the expectations? How will you communicate? How will you measure progress? So, being proactive and scheduling those regular meetings, but this is a formal arrangement. A mentorship, a true mentor-mentee arrangement should be formalized.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
mic drop.
you said so many good things. It's hard to add to that.
Oh, do tell.
I think though too, Cory, that when you formalize it or when you identify parameters or you identify scope, when you do that, then it creates an opportunity to say, you know what? I don't have time to deal with that right now, but we can talk about that at our next scheduled meeting.
Right.
Or or the mentor says, hey, you talked about doing this. Well, yeah, we talked about doing this by the time we get together next time.
Right.
So I still have a week or I still have 2 weeks. So it creates some space for both people to feel validated, to process the relationship, and to do the things that you said you're going to do.
Right.
And it creates some consistency. And consistency is so important in everything, whether it's business, whether it's sales, whether it's a relationship with your spouse, relationships with your friends, or your mentors.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that was voice. Sometimes I don't know when the stop is coming. I feel like there's an extra, and then it just becomes.
Yeah, and I'll get out of here on this.
I'm done.
Right, exactly.
That's it. There's no more to it.
Right.
Next profound statement to make. Mentorship's a two-way street, though. Right? Both parties should be benefiting from the relationship, respecting time, respecting the expertise, demonstrating commitment to learning and growth. Really creates the nurturing. Because fundamentally, the right mentor gets something out of this.
Right.
And I learned this from Randy Gage. I don't know if you know that name. Randy Gage. He's a Hall of Fame speaker, big in the speaking community, big in the direct response marketing, and has built teams in that area. And he's got a couple great books out. He wrote several books. But one of the things that he wrote, he was talking about charitable giving. Okay. And he said that, and I never thought about it this way, but he's just, charitable giving is really a selfish act, not selfless, a selfish act. Okay. And I may be paraphrasing here, but The statement was that people give because of how it makes them feel.
Okay.
Yes, okay, great. I want to save baby seals and you know, I want to save the kids or save the puppies or whatever.
Right.
But it's about how they feel.
Right.
That is the real motivator.
Right.
And that's a selfish act. I'm giving this charity money so I can feel good about doing it.
Right.
Now it's going to help. It's going to do all these things. And yes,
Right.
you know, my $22 provides rice for a month or whatever. But it's how I feel.
Right.
And I think for mentors, in a lot of ways, it's also about how it makes them feel to see someone. You know, I started informally mentoring somebody probably 10 years ago. Okay. And I don't follow any of these rules here. Like, we don't have a formal arrangement or anything. But he reaches out for advice here and there, but keeping me posted on things he's doing.
Right.
And I enjoy the fact, and I always respond, and I enjoy the fact when he tells me, you know, he wanted to be a speaker and do more speaking. So I enjoy the fact when he says, hey, and he's in the youth market. Okay. So speaking to schools and colleges and things. So, and he overcame kind of some speech challenges. That's the real remarkable thing. Yeah. And I get to know from him, hey, just talk to another principal. Or he'll say, hey, you know, I just did this with a principal, and, you know, what do you think about this? And then I'll take a few moments and give him some advice. Right. And then he'll go make the action with the advice. And I love when he writes me back and says, oh, you know, that was great. I got 3 referrals. I said, hey, what you need to do is you got a principal who loved the presentation you did. Guess what? Principals know other principals. Ask them who else needs to hear this message. What other schools? Who do they work with? Right. Simple. Right. Oh, great. I got 2 new leads from that. Right. And they're buying books. Right. And they're paying, fee. We want fee-based speaking, right? Not you can come talk to the people. Right. No, I'm trying to get a check. Right. Exactly. So I love that. I love hearing that. That makes me feel really, really good. And it makes me continue to want to engage also and make myself available. I'm not spending hours and hours and hours, but if I can give some advice, I know I'm dealing with somebody who's going to take action, who's working on developing themselves. And it makes you feel really good. So to Randy Gage's point, that is so important. And I think about how it's so relevant even from a charitable end. I think about, like, I'm a direct charitable person. So what I mean by that is I generally will get involved in things or give to things where I can see a direct impact. Okay. So like donorschoose.org was a big one for me, because that you're funding school supplies and things that teachers need. So when you fund that, you're basically buying, you know, we need 12 sets of building blocks so kids can read good, right? So we can teach them the math, right? And the arithmetic, is that what it used to call? So you can teach them arithmetic. Right. So like you're funding that, and then those 12 sets of building blocks are going to that school. And then back in the day, the kids used to write you letters. Right. So I'd get this pack in the mail. My wife knows I get the pack in the mail, and it's all these kids who can't spell my name correctly, who write sideways, but it's so, you know, who's drawn and scribbled, and they're thanking you. Right. Dude, I'm sold. Right. What's the next project I can do? Right. That's just like, I like to see that immediate. I like to see that immediate impact. Right. KLM scholarship fund in Virginia, it gives book scholarships. Right. So that check went right to that child to get their books. Right. I'm fully responsible for their graduation from that one. No, I'm just kidding. but
Lord have mercy.
But it's just powerful stuff, and that's something to not forget, that being a mentor, that there are people out there that want to truly have the opportunity to do that because it feels really good to help someone else succeed.
2 things. One is it feels really good to help see somebody succeed, and so that is the value you get, because seeing somebody else succeed helps you feel validated as a mentor. Like I contributed to that. So it feels like you had a positive influence on that. The other thing that being a mentor does is it continues legacy. And I think that's an underappreciated piece of this. If somebody is in an industry or somebody's in a role that they want to see that role continue. Yes. by mentoring somebody, you're developing somebody to take over and continue that legacy.
Voice of reason. I like. All right, let's ease up. We're doing too many voices. I'm smart too. Hold on, Buckaroo. Yeah,
There we go.
Exactly.
There we go.
Solid as always. Well, listen, I think we hit it. I think we hit the points. I think for people who have not thought about pursuing mentorship, I think they've got some clear things to target here.
Right.
If you're in a mentorship relationship, maybe there's some ways to redefine that, or maybe you've single source mentorship when that may not be the case, and maybe people can mentor you in other areas. And then for those of you who are in a position to share and pour into someone else, maybe you maybe you want to consider becoming a mentor to someone. And again, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have the perfect life or the perfect business, but you may have a key area that would be valued. You may do something exceptionally well. Yeah, your home life's a mess, but you know what? You're killing it at work, right? Your business is growing, record revenues, all these things are maybe happening. So you can pour that into somebody, and maybe vice versa. Or maybe you can mentor on things not to do wrong, at how to have better. I kind of hate the term work-life balance, but how to manage those relationships, particularly from a business standpoint, where if you're the business owner, you're responsible for what happens, right? The sign was "The buck stops with me." I am the buck, right? So I think that's an important thing to consider. But yeah, I think we did it.
It was good.
I think we did it,
and I like that. I like the approach where we give
get it all out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't like it too much. That may change.
Well, it doesn't mean we're going to do it forever.
Okay.
But we've tried it a couple
leave the door
times.
open to make those changes.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Make sure you're on board.
I'm on board.
And and you're free to reorganize them.
I let it go today.
There's the 5 and there's the Long Graham 5. So that's the way we look at it. Well, listen, folks, this has been another episode of Grow Business Podcast. And as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for streaming. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your 5-star reviews. We love the feedback. If you've got some good feedback, we'd love to hear it. If not, keep it to yourself, as I always say. Don't want to know? We want to stay in our bubble. If there's topics and things you want to hear more about, we also would love to hear that. So you can shoot us an email. Let's email. You can email hello@CoryMosley.com. If you've got a suggestion for something you'd like to see us cover, we'd love to cover and make sure we're giving the information out and sharing. As long as it's something in our wheelhouse, right? I'm not going to do an episode on nuclear proliferation. Because that's not my area of expertise. But you will always get somebody that will write something in silly like that.
Well, we appreciate that that's your interest. That's just not our wheelhouse.
Yeah, so I'm saying it preemptively, right?
Exactly.
So they don't even bother. Like, this is not in the wheelhouse. Horticulture, I cannot help you. My plants are dead. All right, so I cannot help you. I cannot help you with yours. All right, we're gonna get out of here. This is the Grow Business Podcast. Willie H has got his hands on the button. He's going to take us out. Lon, thanks for another great show.
Thank you, Cory.
You got it. Willie H, hit the button. All right, it worked this time. Yeah. Maybe I'll pull that ad. I didn't get any great responses anyway. There's a Save Willie H campaign going on now. Absolutely. His dad's calling. He's like, don't keep him there. He needs something to do.
Right. You're not a house. He's so good. That's such a good. He is the glue. The glue. He keeps everything connected.